Okay, I think we're going to start. Now an official warm welcome to everybody to today's Impact for Breakfast session. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. My name is Deborah Keller and I lead on the Impact for Breakfast Network, which is an initiative supported by Artha Impact, the impact investing arm of the Rianta Capital Family Office, which is based in Zurich and in London. Impact for Breakfast is an informal group of family offices, foundations, funds, venture philanthropy, and intermediary organizations with a common focus on entrepreneurship and impact investing. The specialized group has been gathering and growing since 2008, starting in London, with an expansion today to 19 cities/chapters around the globe. The network consists of 2,500 members. Today, we will learn about the Ukraine and its impact investing opportunities. And for that, I have the pleasure to have with me Martijn Blom, who leads on the Impact Funds Initiative and Benelux at EVPA. Martijn joined EVPA in 2020 as the manager for Benelux and coordinator for the Impact Funds Initiative. And also, thank you very much in advance, Anna Królewska-Czernysz, who is joining us today from Kiev. She's the co-founder and chair of the board of CLAB Ukraine and accelerator for social entrepreneurs, CELAB. Ukraine, EVPA were about to open for proposals for the Ukraine social venture funds when Russia began its offensive. Instead of canceling this initiative, the EVPA has accelerated their plans and pivoted its activities to support the social entrepreneurs in the country with financial support, enabling them to provide humanitarian support to internally displaced people via Shelter Ukraine. To date, the results both on impact and fundraising are impressive. Before I hand over to our wonderful speakers to dive into today's topics, I want to inform you we are recording this session. We have planned 1 hour. At the beginning, we will have presentations from Anna and Martijn, and the second part is a Q&A where you will have a chance to share your thoughts, comments, ideas, anything regarding this topic. We would love to hear it. And now, with no further ado, over to you, Martijn.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for hosting us. Before I start, I also want to thank Genevieve Marshall, who I don't think is with us right now, but is leading the Dutch chapter and was actually suggesting to have this session on the work we and especially Anna does in Ukraine. Thank you everybody as well for joining us. I see some familiar faces. I also see some familiar faces from Ukraine, so a special welcome to them as well. Good to see you all safe and sound on this call. Special welcome to my colleague Eva. Also, Eva has been pivotal, her leadership in this project and what we've been doing before the invasion, but certainly also after the invasion. So thank you for joining as well, Eva. And thank you, Anna. I'm asked to provide a little bit of context before we deep dive into our work into the Ukraine. I'll try to keep it short because Anna has the first-hand insight on all the work they have been doing and the examples of our work in Ukraine. So the truly inspirational work and presentation comes from her. But before that, I'd like to give it a bit of introduction. My name is Martijn Blom. I work with EVPA. EVPA is a network of about 300 investors for impact throughout Europe. We have sister networks in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. I joined EVPA in 2020 to lead I have several hats, but mostly to lead the Impact Funds Initiative to organize activities that kind of touch upon the challenges and needs of the impact funds community. So we're a community within the community of about 1/3 of our members, 100+ members, have joined that initiative. Before that, I'm basically an entrepreneur turned business angel, a business angel turned impact investor, an impact investor turned impact fund manager. And the organization where I worked last was HIVOS Impact Investments, where I helped one of the big 4 Dutch NGOs to set up an impact investment fund and joined the management for a couple of years as well, while we were just set up. HIVOS Impact Investment was at the time and still is a member of EVPA, so that's how I got acquainted with EVPA and the network and all the peers to learn from and to work with. The work I did at HIVOS was predominantly focused on Africa, South Africa, North Africa. So up until I joined EVPA, I had no particular relationship at all with Ukraine, but I have to say that has changed a lot over the last few months. What I wanted to say is, because of the title of today's session is about impact investing and about social entrepreneurship in times of crisis and how that worked. Well, I joined EVPA and I set up the Impact Funds Initiative since 2020. I joined actually in March 2020, which means that it was parallel to the pandemic and the pandemic crisis. And actually, when I was thinking on how to introduce this case also today, I saw some parallels with that, because I think what is remarkable, as we will see later in the presentation of Anna, is that social enterprises are so pivotal in actually providing the most necessary needs. They are able to get on the ground really close to the organizations, really close to the people in need, really close to that needs that are essential. And these needs that are essential, the demand increases in times of crisis. And I already recognized that in that pandemic, when I was calling out in worry to some of our members, asking them how they were doing and how badly they were affected by the pandemic. And actually some of our members said, badly affected, we're doing better than ever. We are providing those, essential needs in the basics that the demand has just increased instead of decreased. And I think in a different way, that's also what we have been experiencing in Ukraine, and maybe not in a commercial way, but definitely in where the demand is, and being able to provide that demand and being able to support these organizations and the rapidness in which they are able to pivot their activities to what is needed. I think Anna can tell a lot more about that. Before handing over to Anna, what were we doing in Ukraine? Why do I get involved in Ukraine? EVPA runs a project for the European Commission. The project is called Collaborate for Impact, where we are promoting social entrepreneurship and impact investment in the Eastern Partnership countries of the EU. This project includes a lot also on policy, on social enterprises, on advocacy in the region of social entrepreneurship and impact investment. But it also included setting up of impact investment funds in 3 of the partnership countries, Georgia, Armenia, and Ukraine. And actually, while Eva was setting it up at a certain moment, she said to me, so that's what you did in the Netherlands, right? This is what you did with HIVOS, right? Working with these organizations, setting up an impact fund. And that's actually how I got involved in this impact investment advisory. I already said in my post, some of you might have seen it on LinkedIn yesterday, when I was looking in my agenda on Monday to see what this week would bring. I saw this breakfast coming up, but I also saw that actually this week I would have been in Kiev. The original plan before February 24th was that I would be in Kiev. We were already inviting other impact investors from our network to join and to speak to investors and actually to raise the fund and to open up to entrepreneurs, or maybe already announce our first investments into entrepreneurs. That was the initial plan, but then February 24th came, and we had to change it. I think already on February 24th, on the day of the invasion, Eva and I had a call with you, Anna, where actually the change and the pivots of the fund and of the activities and how the fund could help people in need was being born. So I think that's a good point in this presentation to hand over to you, Anna.
Yeah, thank you, Martijn. Yes, it's true. Our plans has changed a little bit. Just to start, a few words about myself. Yes, I'm Anna Gulevska-Chernysh, and now I'm the chair of the board of CELAB Ukraine. We are a non-profit organization, and here is a couple of my colleagues, Alena, and Tatiana. We established our organization 5 years ago with the aim of developing of social entrepreneurship field in Ukraine. So we were one of the first organizations which started to focus on building ecosystem, running incubation, accelerators programs, developing policy environment for social entrepreneurship. Before this, all my professional life was connected with non-profit sector. In the 90s, I was involved actively in youth movement in Ukraine. Then for 8 years, I have been working for Child Fund International organization, their office in Ukraine, on different grassroots level projects, social projects for children and families. Then for 10 years, I was the director of Ukrainian Philanthropist Forum, the largest umbrella organization for charity organization and foundations in Ukraine. But 5 years ago, I decided to change a little bit the focus, because I saw the importance and development of social entrepreneurship as alternative of charity and more stable approach to solve various social issues on grassroots level. And since a few years, we have been working together with EVPA in different formats. Until last year, we started to work on joint project, which was focusing on creation Ukrainian Social Venture Fund, and it's now under official registration. And it was planned that in April we have to conduct our first social impact investor schools, and we were planned to launch our first not grant competition, but first round of social investments for Ukrainian social enterprises. And the situation a little bit has changed, but it did not stop our activities. Just before the 24th of February, just a week ago, before that, we had our staff meeting. At the time, it was already very tough situation inside Ukraine, outside, because all mass media, all social media, they were talking about war, which are going to happen, and nobody believed, but its information was everywhere. And during our meeting, I asked my team, and we are 7 young brave women, what do you think? If something will happen, if something will start, are we ready to be involved, to do something, or we will just stop our activities for a while until the situation will settle? And it was a common decision that we want to do something. And that is why on 28th of February, we already had meeting with Eva and Martijn, and we started to do our plans. I made a few slides to show you what is current situation for you to understand and how it works, see all systems in Ukraine. So this is a map of what's situation now with real war activities. All yellow, it's territory of which under Ukraine protection. Red, this is where Russian troops right now and where all war activities are taking place right now. And purple, this is what have been occupied in 2014. Actually, I did a couple presentations last week, and the map was slightly different. You can see that we had north in red. Now this is everything in yellow. So within last a few days, very positive changes has happened. That all north of Ukraine was and territory around Kyiv, where I'm located right now, was deoccupied, and it's fully under control of Ukrainian government. So when we met with Martijn and Eva on 28th February, we started to talk about launching the program Shelter in Ukraine to support civilians, internally displaced people. Why it was made a focus? Because all, for you to understand, all internal resources, all Ukrainian resources from government, from all Ukrainian business, from individuals, now are focusing to support Ukrainian army. And everything what we have, we put to the army, because this is our major priority right now, and it will continue. Therefore, to support everything else except army, we need to attract resources outside Ukraine. Our step was launching initiative Shelter Ukraine, which we actively continue now to support civilians. Right now, we have 10 million internally displaced people. Almost 4 million is in Europe now, but 6 are located in central and west of Ukraine. And all of them need support. This is people who moved from east, from south to the safe regions. So through this initiative, we are supporting shelters, buying mattresses, beds, foods, medicines, so people can have basic life conditions for themselves. But by starting these activities on first week of March, we saw that some social enterprises with whom we worked before, because we have big network of social enterprises across Ukraine, started communicate us and ask for the help because they started to do some activities, some of them to support civilians. And we were a little bit surprised, but then decided to find out what's going on in the sector. And we, at the first week of March, conducted a quick survey, online survey. And we asked them, what's going on? How is your situation? So it was second week of the war. And what we found out, that only 33% of social enterprises stop their activities, like 70% continue the activity, but slightly in different way. Of course, for many, like you can see, so 40% they stop their work on their business company, and they continue to work more having support from external donations. Some of them launch new services, new products which are relevant to the needs of today. And for many of there was a question, so 20% increased the number of staff, and mainly because of volunteers. So we found that they continues to work. And I want to show you just 4 cases which can describe how social enterprises can make value for current situation. For example, this one's oldest Ukrainian social enterprises, Inclusive Cafe. It's located in West Ukraine. It's one of the first cafe where young people with Down syndrome have been employed and got official work. So they stopped to work as a cafe. They don't produce cakes anymore or pizza anymore as they did before, but they started focus on producing semi-finished products for internally displaced people or for army, like dumplings, spices, etc. So, and they got many volunteers, and all premises of cafe now is big kitchen room where they produce products, and every day they pack big cars with this food to which go to central or eastern regions of Ukraine. And the value of the products they raising every day. Another social enterprise, Svetlanadi, this one located in East Ukraine, Poltava region. It's working integration center for women who are former prisoners. For 8 years, they have quite big sewing factory where these women have possibility for working rehabilitation. For last 3 years, they had big contract with friends, and they produced clothes and sold them to French company. Now they stopped and they started to develop new products. Firstly, the sleeping bags for internally displaced people, for different shelters across Ukraine, as well as for soldiers. And also they gave the press as part of the premises and they created shelters on the base of the center. Another social enterprise, B&D Freelance, it's located on West Ukraine. It was an is social enterprise which focused on employment of elderly people who have skills and possibilities to do something and support others, like babysitters, caring disabled people, and they have been very active. Now, this city is full of internally displaced people, and they created on the base of the training center, and mayors gave them another few spaces. They created daycare centers for children, IDP children, and all these grandmothers, grandfathers running activities to support parents with their kids. And the last but not least, the good bread from good people. This bakery in Kyiv, which employs people with autism mainly. Actually, during the last 3 weeks, we are in constant communication with an owner of this bakery. They increased the production of bread like in 7-10 times. They increased the steam because they became one of the bakery which continues to work in Kyiv during this war activities, and they making bread and volunteers bread among elderly people who didn't left Kyiv. and hospitals, social centers. So they are quite active. So this show us that social enterprises quite active now. And a week ago, we launched emergency grant competition to support social enterprises, and we received within 1 week 150 applications to support across Ukraine. Half of them very simple, and they connected with humanitarian support, and we will forward this application to our shelter program. But half of them, it's social enterprises who changing their businesses, adapting their businesses, or starting to do new products, and they need support. Firstly, for some of them for equipment, they need support for buy some raw materials for producing their new products, and operational support for operational costs, because of course now the economical situation in the country went down during war activities. I think 10 days ago, Cabinet of Ministry, they conducted research, and they found that only 30% of business which continue the work. 70% of business, they stop the activities. Now, social enterprises, they have opposite figures, but of course they're working mainly on volunteer base. So they need support and some operational cost to overcome this period, so they can continue then further to do their basic activities and fulfill their social mission, which they aim for. So now situation, all war activities are focused on east and south of Ukraine. All we have rebuilding our logistics system inside the country, because in the first couple of weeks it was broken. Now more and more active, and because Kyiv is deoccupied in the Kyiv region, so now we have again new connection between west and east, between north and south, what make life much easier and communication much easier, and businesses coming back to life. And we really want to support now, focus on support social enterprises, because we see the important roles on grassroots level on their communities there where they exist. So in my presentation, just I put it at the end slides with my data, our bank accounts, and if somebody wants communicate to find out more about our activities, I would be happy to answer any question, give any additional information about it. This is brief overview, and I'm happy now to answer any of your questions right now.
Thank you very much, Anna, for sharing those insights of the current situation in Ukraine. Questions are welcome now, so you can either post them in the chat field or just unmute yourself and share your question with us, or with Anna, or two more time. Anna, just very quickly, what would be so the call to action you have for us? So if anyone wants to get involved, I saw you shared the bank details. Is it so? It would be, what would be the most helpful? Would be the donation, what would be the call to action you would share
So
with us?
as I told, we got 75 applications from social enterprises who asking for support. Right now, we have possibility to support less than half of them. So in case somebody would be willing to support social enterprises, yeah, it can be done directly through our organization. Also, I can share more about information, personally, different type of social enterprises, which we have. Probably, you know, someone who would like to match from other European countries, and probably some bakeries, social bakeries from Europe would like to support directly our bakeries of Ukrainian social enterprises. We can help to build such matches. Yeah. This I see more, what is more important right now for them, because of course it's not best period for professional skills raising, because it's, yeah, but from other side also I would like to mention within this application call, our main point was to support existing social enterprises. But at the end, we got around 10 applications with brilliant new business ideas, which would like to start the activities right now, which are relevant to this situation. So what we are thinking now, we are looking for resources probably to run express online incubators to see the financial models, to work a little bit closer on the business models, and then we will look for financial resources to support them to launch new businesses which are focusing on current situation. Yeah.
Can that list of businesses that need support, can it be, do you have that list? Is it something you can share with us? So
yes,
people
I
see
can.
what kind of businesses are out there that need support? Or is it a document you can share, or anything that we could pass on?
Yes, we have already, we need to finalize translation. Yes, on English, but yeah, for 20 social enterprises, we have already description on English and what kind of support need. Because what can be done, I'm saying about matching, so it's probably it would not be necessary for financial support. It can be equipment, it can be materials. So what for them to start the activities.
Thank you. That would be great. Questions from the audience? You can either share the question with me in written, or Nicholas, please go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Hello, Anna. I'm Nicholas, based in Vienna. You mentioned financial support, and you mentioned equipment and other material support. Would these businesses also be benefiting from capacity building, meaning training and coaching to, prepare their business plans and their financial projections in order to prepare for investment?
Yeah, for new one who wants to start the activities right now, I think it will be important for them to get this assistance, and this is what we are focusing now on this. For those who are in process, who doing stuff, and not now, after the war, because they are now all focusing on producing, on doing, on involving in activities, and it's not real time for them. They don't have time to study, because if they doing sleeping bags, they're doing sleeping bags. If they're cooking for army, they're cooking for army, producing food. Some not, but probably some social enterprises who stopped their activities right now, probably it would be, and because they don't have possibility on different reasons to continue, probably they would be interesting, but we need to find out about this. But I think it's important for new, which we see now some application and call who want to start. I think it's important for them now to go through some capacity training. Yes, and we are.
Yeah. I meant specifically for those who applied for support from you.
Yes.
Whether
yes.
those need, or whether the materials that they submitted maybe need some preparation or improvement in order to be, kind of proposable to EVPA investors or so. Yeah?
Yes.
And this is a very short process. I'm talking about, half a day or a day.
Okay. No,
study
this.
program.
Okay, if like this, I think, yes, because we want to go with them through this,
Yes.
because it's important to see, not just give funding, yes, but for short intervention, and it's important.
Okay, thank you. I will send you an email on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you, Nicholas. Yasmin in the chat just mentioned that she wrote a direct message that she can do translations quickly. If there is any of the businesses needs translations, she would be available.
Okay.
So I'll share with you her contact details.
Thank you.
Questions from the audience for Anna or for Martijn regarding their initiative with EVPA?
Good morning, it's John here from Neuchâtel. Anna, good morning.
Good morning.
I was wondering, we've seen a lot of just everywhere in Switzerland people wanting to help, and of course that often comes in the form of providing immediate needs, food, equipment, medicine, shelter. And now we're seeing in those same organizations, people saying, we don't want clothes anymore, but we need this, 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 and this. And we've supported 2 or 3 programs, different programs out of Switzerland with large lorries that have driven to Lviv with supplies. And now I'm seeing that those same organizations are requesting different types of supplies and equipment because the needs have changed on the ground. So when you mention the needs of these social enterprises, and of course funding is one of them, and that's certainly something that I would like to look at, but also supplies and equipment that maybe are not easily available and maybe need to be imported. Is there a way of getting a collated list? Because we're talking about large trucks, 40-ton trucks that need to be filled.
Yes,
and
I think it's possible.
So it's how, I mean, maybe this is a conversation to take offline, but how you sort of streamline that to make it the most effective possible for you on the ground.
Yes, so we have now, through this application, we have the list of all needs. So we can accumulate and make a database on these needs, and we can see what can be supportive.
Because it's great to have a baker, maybe bakeries in Switzerland wanting to help bakers in Ukraine, but then you need to get those supplies to Ukraine.
Exactly.
And transport can be a real challenge.
But now through transfer through border it's much easier, so they change all rules, so just come and that's it. Just come and that's it. So and we have partners on the border who can help us with this. So we are open to such possibilities.
And Deborah, I see you're recording this, but Anna flashed up her contact details and everything, but it was rather quick. So if we can have on Deborah, if you can sort out on the email maybe afterwards all of the presentation material, I guess that'll follow.
Yes, it will. I'll share her contact details and everything that Anna has shared today with you all.
Wonderful.
In the follow-up.
Thank you. Thank you.
John, do you know you mentioned that that there is that more people would want to know what is needed. Do you know if that list can be shared with any organization that is currently gathering stuff. Is that something that we can share with any other organization? Do you know that?
I mean, the only things that that we've been involved in are local here in Neuchâtel. So it's been in Lausanne. So mainly transport companies wanting to put their trucks and their haulage capacity available for. But then it's it's how you organize locally here to aggregate all of the gear, and there are 1 or 2 projects, that one in Neuchâtel and one in Lausanne, for getting donated equipment and supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
If I may add briefly to that, also, John. So thank you for your questions and your offer. What I think specifically struck me about these social enterprises that are being supported by Anna and her team in Ukraine is that they are so small and lean and on the ground and kind of integrated almost in society, that they were able to get to places where the big NGOs had difficulty getting to. So also in the Netherlands, there's like a big action, call for action, 150 million euros being raised by the big organizations, and then it will be dispersed and it will help refugees and probably maybe also getting stuff into the country. But these social entrepreneurs, and probably also other societal organizations in the country, have been able to pivot their activities so quickly and actually been able to reach shelters, people that just are very difficult to reach out to, and often with the risk of their own life, been able to provide their food and medicine to these companies. And I think that's specifically where these social enterprises and social organizations in the broader sense probably can play such a pivotal role in a crisis like in Ukraine.
Yeah, it's true, supporting Martijn, that, for example, we were able to support on 3rd day of the war already a few organizations on the east who suffered mostly region for evacuation, for medicine, with medicine, while first, it was 3rd day of the war. First international organization came on 3rd week of the war. So international, unfortunately, community a little bit late but this, we understand this all humanitarian international system, all the weaknesses part, but yes, we are happy that now we have connections in all regions, 25 regions in Ukraine. We have partners, we have organizations, volunteers. All Ukrainian society is mobilized, always mobilized, and a lot of things is on the shoulders of volunteers and army. This is now 2 most functional institutions which try to stop this crisis. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Eva,
if I may just add maybe to what Martijn has been saying about the efficiency, because we've been, Anya and her team were sending us some data also how many people they have supported and so on. And I think, for example, just to give you one number, basically with 150,000 euro, her team, Anya's team, and the other 2 organizations, because the 3 organizations divided the Ukraine into different regions so that they can actually reach out to people that need support really quickly as well. So 150,000 euro actually supported over 22,000 people, right? So you can see the scale. And we are really getting this data and information from Anya, how many shelters have been supported. So for example, in the shelters, there were over 3,500 people that actually got support in the shelters. Hundreds of people, thousands of people on evacuation trains, because they need food, they need water and those kinds of supplies. And this is, on one hand, if it's possible, it is purchased locally. But if not, then also, of course, those social enterprises that are also producing, right, things and those food, the semi-frozen food, for example, for internally displaced people. So I think the effectiveness of those organizations, you know, that are on the ground is really amazing. And honestly, as Anya said, I think the international support came a little bit later, and it is coming, the humanitarian support. But I think it's also important to mention that, you know, or sorry, I think it's my phone. So, but I think it's important to mention that basically, that, you know, not only they are able to reach those people in need really fast, but I think you could also help in a way by looking at the international organizations in your countries. And, you know, I know that every country was doing some sort of collections at the national level, you know, like Martijn mentioned, some Dutch organizations, right, that I think in 2 days raised like really huge amounts of money. And those organizations quite often are also looking for partner organizations in Ukraine or in the neighboring countries. And I think if you could, for example, help Anya to you know, and us, we can also help as EVPA to connect, to reach out to some of those, some of your national organizations that have been doing collections, that have been trying to identify potential partners, then, you know, I think enlisting CLAP, you know, with the other organizations to some of those initiatives would be really great. So that would be kind of one of the things that I would also propose for this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. Niklaus, I think I see your hand raising.
Yes, thank you, Deborah. I have another question to our Ukrainian friends here. The European Stability Initiative, it's a think tank in Berlin and Brussels. They have called now for quite some time for an airlift of those displaced people who have fled the country and who are stuck in the neighboring countries. We know there's 1.5 million roughly already, or 700,000, I think, in Poland. I have friends in Moldova where the absolute number is much smaller, but then Moldova is less than 1/10 of the population. So you have like a quarter of the Moldovan population growth with 400,000 Ukrainian displaced people. On the one hand, is that something that you and your friends and family, those who you know who have left the country, do they move on? Because I've looked into this, and it seems to me that those who have friends and relatives in Western Europe, they move on. We've had 200,000 pass through Austria, and only about 30,000 stayed here. Most move on to other places. And I've heard from people I've spoken to here that they say many just stay on the border because they don't know where to go. And this European Stability Initiative, this call for an airlift, said we need to get them out of the immediate neighboring countries because it's creating such a logistical and humanitarian challenge. And at the same time, there's so much solidarity and reception and willingness to take people in. Like John mentioned in Switzerland, we can see the same here in Austria. There's a great deal of solidarity, but there's the logistical challenge of bringing people from countries from the Ukrainian border, where further west of Berlin, Munich, Vienna, is difficult to reach by bus or by train, and probably needs flights. Now the question is, does that match with your perception and the anecdotes and what you hear from friends and relatives and people you know who've left the country? Because then what it would need is actually initiatives by Western European communities and community activists to, in a way, market themselves as destinations for Ukrainians to come, even if they hadn't considered coming to Brussels, Amsterdam, Utrecht, Neuchâtel, Milano, and so on, and even if they don't know anybody there. And I'm pretty sure there's Ukrainian communities in each of those places who could help. But this, to me, seems to be a very big underappreciated problem, because the reason also why the ESI called for this is they said, what they saw, and the political scientists and sociologists, they said the solidarity dropped like this after 3-4 months in 2015, and they fear it's going to be the same now.
Yeah. So telling an example of my team, we are 7. So 3 of members of our team, they are placed now in Poland, in Netherlands, and in Denmark. Yeah, my experience, and I think what I can show experience of our accountant Svetlana, I told my colleagues in EVPA, it's my personal hero in this war, because for first 2 weeks, Svetlana, she was living in such district of Kiev, which was under constant bombing, under constant attacks. So for 2 weeks, she lived in bomb shelter constantly, and she came out between bombing to catch internet on the street and to do our bank transferring. So and then in 2 weeks we were able at last to evacuate her and to put on the train to the Poland. So, but the issue, and she is can be one of model. She doesn't speak English. She doesn't speak German, and she stayed in Poland for 2 weeks in the center on the border, and she was just afraid. First thing, she was not afraid. She needed time to overcome this difficult period, this emotional pressure which she had during 2 weeks. So within, it took her 24 hours by train to get to Poland, and she said, I don't go anywhere. I need just to stay in safe place for some period. And then in 2 weeks, she moved to Netherlands. But I think with her example, and for many people, the issue of language is issue number 1, because unfortunately, people don't speak. Majority of population, they don't speak, and so in those centers are people who are from small towns, from villages, which for many of them it's first time to go outside Ukraine, and it's just hard for them to move fast, because Polish language very close to Ukrainian. So if we speak slowly Polish or Ukrainian, we can understand each other, and that is why for many of them it's more safe to stay in this area. And for Moldova, because they all Russian speaking in Moldova, so they communicate, and I think it's major. But second also reason, people don't want to go far away from Ukraine. Ukraine still a lot of in Bucha. You probably might see in the last days TV showing case of Bucha, suburb and Kiev, small town, when a lot of murdering has happened. Now the mayor of this town saying that 4,000 of people stayed there during all this period. They did not want to leave the places. They just did not want. And now, for example, our government asking people from East Ukraine, move, go out from East, go from villages, because for army it's easy to fight. For army is easy, and you will be safer, because it's a lot of dangerous for civilians to stay there, and people just don't want. People just don't want. It's mentality, and you cannot do with it. So I don't know, honestly, because I understand the reasons, language, and vision to stay on one place, don't change anymore, and to stay as much closer to the home as possible. Yeah, and probably some program, no. And now also, because this positive situation around Kiev and north, and that some territory they occupied it, I have to say that now Kiev, within 3 days, it's already full of cars. People return back, and they see news and they want to come back to the home. And I read some some European studies. So when they ask all these Ukrainians, are you going to stay in Europe or you want to come back? 75 are going to come back. They don't want to stay in Europe. They don't need it. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Anna and Niklas, for your input. We're getting close to the hour. It was a great conversation. Thank you very much, Anna, for joining us in those difficult circumstances. And thank you, everybody, for your ideas, inputs, and comments. I will make sure to share your links and details with Anna. And please share this recording with everybody you think that might be interested in helping and in helping in a meaningful way. I'll be sharing, as I mentioned earlier, Anna's contact details and Martijn's, so you can pass it on. You're welcome to that. Martijn, also, thank you very much for joining us today and bringing Anna to this platform. Any closing comments from you, Martijn, and from you, Anna, before we end this session today?
No, just thank you everyone for joining. I think Anna already shared the contact details. I know officially the Impact for Breakfast are not a fundraising event, but all the money will be used well and is hard needed. So if you are able to help in a meaningful way, or if you know anybody that can help in a meaningful way, please do reach out to any of us, to Anna, to me, to Eva. And we're happy to help you further. Also happy to see Olena and Tatiana and Svetlana on the call from Ukraine as well. Hope you're all safe. Glad to see you there. And that's it from my side.
Thank you, Martijn.
And just one word from me. It's already clear that unfortunately the war will not stop tomorrow. It will not happen tomorrow or day after tomorrow. It's becoming a little bit long process, unfortunately. And even if we will be less on TV, the problem here are not less. So Ukraine would need support for longer period. And this having partners, friends, colleagues behind our shoulders give us strength to move forward, to fight, protect, to change, and with this support on the back. So thank you for your support.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everybody. I wish you all a wonderful day ahead and look forward to hearing from you, and I'll promise I'll share the details. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.